Hi everyone, indie author Ayla here, and I just wanted to talk a little bit about my books, of course, that are out on the market. It's a trilogy. The third book is being written. The trilogy is Sacred Earth. Sacred Earth is the first book. Sacred Song is the second book, and Sacred Hearts are the third book. That should be out probably the beginning of 2025. So if you go to my website, aylahalel.com, it has my little name in handwriting up there in the left hand corner, and underneath it there's this string of words like fiction, fantasy, paranormal, occult, supernatural, magical realism, witchcraft, and paganism. Pagan. So, what I want to do with the next couple of videos is I just want to talk about what some of those words mean, because I think sometimes when a reader sees some of those words, they think scary stuff. Paranormal has to do with uh, like ghost activity, or some sort of ghostly or um, disincarnate sort of activity. I'll make another video. I'll talk more about that later. But the word I wanted to talk about today is the word pagan or paganism and what that actually means. The word pagan comes from, I think it's a Greco-Roman word, pagani, and it simply means country dweller, because in ancient times the pagani were the folks who lived out in the country. They weren't part of the city, and they had a very different lifestyle than the nobles and the city dwellers. And so that word has kind of evolved over the last, however many years, thousand years. Um, and how we use that word today is kind of what's important. So the way we use that word today is it's an umbrella term, and it's used to describe a person, generally with some sort of divine connection, who is not part of a monotheistic religion. Does that make sense? So it can be a person who is dedicated to their own version of God or gods. Many pagan paths are polytheistic, meaning that they believe in many gods. I've known pagans who were monotheistic, meaning that they really only believed in one God. I have known pagans who believe in the God, the one that we call the God, or the one or source energy, and then have a relationship with other entities such as angels and dragons and fairies and guides. I myself, I acknowledge a central deity. I don't really call it God, and not because I'm opposed to that word, but because I think source energy is a better description for that entity in my life. And what source energy is for me is it is the creative source in the universe. It creates everything. Now, what it's not for me is it's not this angry older gentleman sitting on a big white throne in a dimension far away, um, kind of micromanaging my life. I don't feel it that way. But then, in addition to source energy, I also have a belief in gods and goddesses, in angels, dragons, fairies, and guides, and all manner of mythical creatures. Part of my belief system extends to citizens of other planets, which is commonly known on this planet as aliens, but I don't really like to call them that because alien means not a part of, and they are very much a part of my life and my belief system. So there are many, many different kinds of pagans. Um, Sacred Earth series trilogy is about pagan people and people who share many different beliefs or who all have different beliefs. It's a group of people. The female main character is doesn't really have a lot of divine connection in the beginning of the book. And in the book, I don't talk about different gods and goddesses. I talk about ritual. They are very connected to the earth, and that's another pagan practice, is to be very connected to the earth. And they are very much into their animals. They have what I call in the book animal speak, so they can talk to them. Now they're all vegetarians because they can't talk to the animals and then turn around and eat them. Um, so they have this relationship with the animals. They have relationships, very deep, profound, loving relationships with each other, and a lot of ritual and a lot of healing and a lot of love. And most of the pagans that I know go very diligently after their healing, because most of us aren't getting out of this realm without some sort of psycho-spiritual damage. And we go about healing that. And to heal that, many of us depend on ourselves and or we depend on gods and goddesses. Many pagans have relationships with angels and with their spirit guides. So this is a very broad term. Now, one of the myths that I want to dispel about a pagan path, most pagan paths are not scary. Okay. When I in the early days of my practice, I used to giggle at the word pagan because I always thought of the pagans in the Dragnet movie, and that I'm sure those pagans exist. I'm sure that they do, but that is not what the majority of us do. We are putting it together as we go along. We are making connections with the divine in whatever works in that moment. We are reaching up, we are walking forward, we are healthy. In the beginning of the book, you meet the female main character, the FMC, and she is so sick. She's so sick, but she winds up in this community with a bunch of pagans, with a bunch of people who practice their relationship to the divine and who practice their magic. And she makes the decision because they're not going to hold her there against her will. But there comes a critical moment early on in the book where she has got to make the decision to stay and get well, or to go and continue on the path that she's been on for most of her adult life. And luckily for us, because that's where the story comes from, she makes the decision to stay. And what a glorious decision that turns out to be. So that's all I have to say today. I'm going to talk in some other videos about some of those other words, because I really need people to understand. I really need my readers to understand that I don't write horror. Horror is a different genre, and it has a particular, the horror writers have a particular way of seeing things that I don't have. I don't have that. So I am writing from what I do have, which is an understanding of healing and love and magic. So that's all I want to say, and I will see you again soon.